Hello and welcome to Odds on La Liga, Matchday 29. Barcelona had the title in their hands after beating, coming back, Atlético de Madrid. What a game at the Metropolitano. The bookies placed Barça's favorite, Alvaro, 1.6, and we are gonna analyze twice Barcelona, because they are playing on Thursday at home against Osasuna and on Sunday against Girona. They were complaining about that. Hello, Alvaro. How are you?
Very well, thank you. I don't know if they are that favorite to win the league, because I think that injuries can stop them from collecting points non-stop. And that's something that Barcelona could suffer from. At the end of the day, they have a shorter squad than Atlético and Real Madrid. But yes, it's in their hands at the same time, because if they beat Osasuna on Thursday, then they will have 3 more points than Real Madrid, which are effectively 4, because I don't think Real Madrid is going to overturn the deficit of the 4-0 at Santiago Bernabeu, and in La Liga, if two teams are leveled, is the head-to-head what matters, and Atlético de Madrid is a little bit far behind already. If Barcelona beats Osasuna, Atlético will be 7 points away from los colchoneros. So yeah, it's interesting, but I still believe that Real Madrid is capable of getting around 85 to 90 points this season, so therefore they are going to challenge until the end. I'm pretty sure about that, keeping in mind that El Clásico is key. If Real Madrid drop points in El Clásico or loses, and El Clásico is coming in a couple of weeks or 3 weeks, then the league is pretty much over, yes.
Well, I think Atlético de Madrid title hopes actually are over after that defeat in the Metropolitano before the international break. Let's analyze everything, a lot to talk about with Alvaro Romeo. Guys, of course, comment the video and subscribe to our channel. We want to keep growing, and we had a very successful international break, by the way, Alvaro. A lot of good bets by our experts. So let's try to keep on with you, and now then let's go on with the show. So guys, don't miss this game. We have on Thursday an unusual schedule for this Barcelona-Osasuna, postponed because Barcelona's doctor passed away in the hotel the day before this game. Barcelona-Osasuna, they were complaining about the dates because, of course, Barcelona cannot count with the South American players, especially with Rafinha, probably already hurt after the defeat against Argentina. But everything is positive in Barcelona's ground, 7 consecutive wins in La Liga, and they celebrated the win at the Metropolitano like a title, and right to do so, Alvaro, because it was a massive win.
Massive win. Barcelona was losing 2-1 in the game, and they managed to overcome that. The win against Atlético de Madrid, it wasn't only epic, but it was a win that would put Barcelona ahead of Atlético in the event of both being leveled on points, because Atlético beat Barcelona by 1 goal in December in Barcelona, and Barcelona beat Atlético by 2 goals in the reverse fixture. So it was a good game for Barcelona. The team is doing well. I always say the same thing. I mean, Barcelona is very reliant on 11 or 12 players, and then there is a gulf in between the lineup and the rest of the footballers in the bench. That's my opinion. If Lamine Yamal is not there, we saw what happened. In December, Barcelona started dropping a lot of points, and you can explain it partially down to Lamine not being there. If Rafinha is not on the pitch, Barcelona is a different team. Yes, Ferran Torres coming as a substitute has provided a lot of goals, 13, which is good, but still the gulf in quality is big. So therefore, it's not convenient for Barcelona to keep on missing players, and the injuries of 𝐜𝐭𝐴 and to a lesser extent 𝗀𝗂𝗏, because his injury is not so serious, can be difficult to deal with for Hansi Flick, especially when the calendar is congested, because now Barcelona is playing against Osasuna, then against Girona in 72 hours, and 72 hours later they are playing against Atlético de Madrid. But you know, I think that Barcelona is favorite for this game just because Osasuna has achieved only one win away this season. And Osasuna is in a bad run. The last time they won a football game was at the start of February. They are not going to be in trouble or anything like that. But right now, Osasuna doesn't seem the type of team that, especially away, can get something out from Barcelona. All that said, Barcelona and Osasuna in the last years, they have had encounters in which Barcelona found it very difficult to beat Osasuna. But I think that away from home is a different story for Osasuna. They haven't been too good away, and that's why I'm going to back Barcelona. Not that this game is my favorite, to be honest, but still, just because it's intertwined between game week 29 and the international break. And Rafinha will be tired on his way back. By the way, 𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐲 must be oozing with the win of Argentina versus Brazil. But anyway, that's another story. Asian handicap minus 1.25 for Barcelona will be mine. 157 is that bet. Otherwise, Barcelona to score over 2.5 goals is something that I have to flag, because Barcelona scores this season an average of 3 goals per game or more. So them scoring over 2.5 goals is within their own average that plays 175. But maybe Asian handicap minus 1.25 for Barcelona is enough.
Well, I don't take Rafinha as a dumb footballer, despite his appearance, I must say. But you have to be a bit dumb to say what he said in Romario's YouTube channel before visiting El Monumental. And then, of course, Argentina were waiting, Brazil, and they thrashed them. But this is another story. Probably Rafinha won't show up in this game. Remember, Osasuna thrashed Barcelona in the reverse fixture, and everything changed after this game. Let's see if we see the same story. Probably not. And now let's focus on this match day 29. This Barcelona-Osasuna is from match day 27. Match day 29 starts on Saturday. Real Sociedad Valladolid. Really low odds to back Real Sociedad. Of course, they are in the middle of the table, but only 5 points away from Mallorca. So they have still some options to go to Europe. They drew with Rayo Vallecano, and they are waiting and hoping for the game they have next week against Real Madrid, the second leg of the Copa del Rey semi-finals, although they lost 1-0 at home. It was a great international break for 𝗀𝗏𝗏, a player, Alvaro, that is struggling this season with Real Sociedad, but shining with De La Fuente.
To the point that from July until now, 𝗀𝗏𝗏 has scored as many goals with the national team than in the league with Real Sociedad, which is incredible. He has scored only 4 league goals, Mikel 𝗀𝗏𝗏, which is a very, very disappointing tally for a player of his quality and for a player of his importance. I really thought that after scoring the Euro 2024 winner against England, Mikel 𝗀𝗏𝗏 was going to start this season with a new aura around him, but that hasn't happened. But Real Sociedad's issues are way more deep than 𝗀𝗏𝗏's struggles in front of the opponent's goal, because I believe that Real Sociedad's issues are more related to the lack of options in midfield. I mean, at the end of the day, over the last 2 years, 2 things happened, and they have been key for Real Sociedad. Number one, Silva breaking his knee, and retiring. And number 2, Mikel Merino just departing to Arsenal. Real Sociedad hasn't replaced these players properly, especially Mikel Merino. Susic so far is not up to the level, and sometimes you think that 𝗀𝗏𝗏 is on his own in that midfield. And even this season is not good for 𝗀𝗏𝗏 if you think about it, because he's not playing the best football of his career. Most of the season has been half injured and still playing, because Real Sociedad has no options in midfield, and this may have a price over his health as well. But this game, obviously Real Sociedad is the favorite. Asian handicap minus 1 for Real Sociedad, 155. That is the story. Asian handicap minus 1.25 for Real Sociedad, 183. By the way, this is my favorite bet. But even with the Asian handicap minus 125, which means that if they win by 2, you win, and if they win by 1, you only suffer half a lose. We have to say that Real Sociedad is not a guarantee of anything right now, neither Valladolid, obviously, but Valladolid is a guarantee of losing, in fact. But these two sides, and this is quite interesting, they haven't scored in half their games. So this is match day 29, right? So in 14 games at least, Real Sociedad and Valladolid, they've been scoreless. So when they have a bad day, it's a bad day. It's a bad day for them. But anyway, if you have to go for a bet, obviously it has to be Real Sociedad to win, because Valladolid is the worst side in the big 5 leagues in Europe, or one of the worst. But otherwise, this game will be a pass for me, all due respect. A pass or an ace and handicap minus 1.25. That is the best value I can find, but I think that the money is somewhere else.
Let's try to find the money. Then next game is a tricky one. Espanyol Atlético de Madrid. In my opinion, Atlético de Madrid are out of the title race after the defeat against Barcelona. Was a really bad week for them before the international break, losing to Real Madrid in penalties in the Champions League and to Barcelona in the last minutes in the Metropolitano. And now they have also a tough test, because it's not easy to win in Espanyol ground. Very strong at home, 3 wins and 3 draws in the last games, fighting against relegation, only 1 point away. And I don't know, Alvaro, I didn't see Atlético de Madrid supporters criticizing a lot the team. And yeah, they competed against both giants, but I would expect more. I think in my opinion, they should be more exigent about Atlético de Madrid, but that's my opinion.
I mean, we have had this debate many times, and fundamentally I don't disagree with that idea. But I also believe that there are ways of losing, and the way Atlético lost against Real Madrid and against Barcelona was not bad. I mean, there is nothing to be ashamed on losing like that, in my opinion. I think that Atlético was very competitive, and just they were on the unlucky side. They could have beaten Barcelona, even though Barcelona was very good in the last 20-25 minutes of the game at Riyadh Metropolitano. And then in the penalty shootout against Real Madrid, they lost it, but it could have gone either way. I don't know. I think that some other seasons there were reasons to be more critical with Simeone. But if they don't win any title this season, you will get the feeling that they underachieved a little bit. But in Spain, it's very tough. This is something that our listeners should know as well. Even the best Atlético de Madrid, which is circa 2014 until 2019, only won 1 league title in those 5 years. And I do believe that if that Atlético had been in Italy or in England, they would have won more league titles. But winning La Liga against Real Madrid and Barcelona is very difficult as well. So it's not that I am taking away responsibility from Simeone. The manager will have some, but Atlético is not having a bad season. I will be more annoyed with Atlético for the defeat suffered at Getafe 2.5 weeks ago. For example, when Correa got sent off and blah, blah, blah. But Atlético just crumbled after being reduced to 10 men, and they lost to Getafe away. And that was, in my opinion, one of the most catastrophic defeats of the season for them. Because that was the moment when suddenly they stopped depending on their own results to win the league. And you could see that the team wasn't perfect, that wasn't, super compact mentally. For this game, I think that this game is tricky. I agree with you, Edu. I think that Espanyol at home, not only they have been good because the numbers say that, but also because they are putting in a fight, because at home they feel confident, because there is a vibe among Espanyol fans that this season they can make it. Yes, I mean, they got... in the last 5 games, they have only suffered 2 defeats, but at least in 3 of them, they have gotten a positive outcome, which is quite good, considering that they are fighting to avoid relegation. They are not far from relegation, true, only 1 point more than Leganés, but at the same time, the vibes are quite good with Espanyol, especially at home. So for this game, I'm going to go for the following. Considering that Atlético will have many players coming back from Argentina, late into the week, maybe the first half can be a little bit slow, so a first half double chance for Espanyol could be interesting, 167. But I also there is good money here. It's a bit more risky, obviously. Asian handicap plus 0.25 for Espanyol in the first half. So if they draw in the first half, you win half of your stake, and if they win, you win your complete stake. That pays 217, but I prefer the first half double chance for Espanyol.
Well, Espanyol in this relegation battle only 1 point away from Alavés and from Leganés. Next game is Alavés Rayo Vallecano outside the relegation spots, Alavés, but they were very disappointed after dropping points with Las Palmas. They were leading 2-0 in the 90th minute and they dropped. They drew at the end that game. They won against Villarreal in the last home game, so overall it's only one defeat in the last 5 La Liga games, and Rayo Vallecano comes to Vitoria with no wins in the last 5, really depleted before the international break. I'm not sure if they've recovered some players because they keep playing well, Alvaro, but yeah, they are missing some key players.
Yeah, they are missing some key players, and this game is not going to be easy because Alavés, they are improving, that's for sure. They won at home not long ago on the 8th of March against Villarreal 1-0, which is one of these wins that Alavés tend to snatch last season at home by a small margin, but still enough just to keep them in the top flight. Alavés got 5 points out of the last 9, but not defeat, which is, again, a good omen. Still develop points with 18th placed Leganés, but this game, I think that could be a draw here. I have the feeling Rayo Vallecano is a team that doesn't lose much. In fact, you can prove it just checking the numbers. Mallorca and Celta are above Rayo Vallecano on the table, and they have lost more games. Sevilla, Getafe, Real Sociedad, Girona, all these teams, which are supposed to be as good, if not better than Rayo Vallecano, have lost more games than them. So, if anything, what it is condemning a little bit Rayo Vallecano lately is not the fact that they are losing, it's the fact that they are not winning, they are drawing too much. So I'm going to go for this game for a draw. Otherwise, this could be easily a pass for me. But I think Rayo Vallecano has the capacity, the ability, and the knowledge just to get a draw from this ground, keeping into account that Deportivo Alavés right now is enjoying a decent moment and they are unbeaten in 3. But the draw for this game, it will be 3-10, and I think that the money is pretty decent.
I like it, indeed. And the last game we have on Saturday is Real Madrid-Leganés. This is a derby. Leganés in relegation spots, as I mentioned before, after the defeat against Betis and Celta. Both, they took the lead and they ended up losing. Real Madrid, Alvaro, saved a match point against Villarreal. It was a very difficult game. They conceded first. They were tired after the battle at the Metropolitano, and now they had time to rest, to recover some players, and they have kind of a friendly schedule with Valencia and Alavés coming next, and of course the Copa del Rey semi-finals. And I want to ask you, first of all, do you think it's a good signing, Trent Alexander-Arnold for Real Madrid?
I mean, they're going to love the way he shoots the ball, the way he passes, his long-range passing and all that. But I think that he's a clear downgrade on Dani Carvajal, in my opinion. One of the reasons why Real Madrid has won so many Champions League titles over the last years has been because they had a committed right-back whose influence on the team's mentality was massive. And Trent Alexander-Arnold is not there. Trent Alexander-Arnold is a player with defensive frailties. He's a player that sometimes shows an awareness, doesn't defend the second post very well, or the far post. I don't know. I think that he is a great player, but how many more attacking players can Real Madrid can have in the lineup? Because for me, Trent Alexander-Arnold, even though he plays as a defender, he's more attacking minded. And in a team like Real Madrid, you need at least to have a holding midfielder and 3 defenders or 4 defenders just thinking about defending, or having that defensive mentality. And Trent Alexander-Arnold is not that player. No, I'm not that convinced. For example, I'm more convinced about the appearance of Raúl Asensio in the middle of the season. A player with the profile that Real Madrid needs. Because in Real Madrid, some other players will do the attacking, some other players will do the creation. And yes, again, sometimes we'll be with Trent Alexander-Arnold and the way he plays the ball and all that, if he does that for Real Madrid. But he will get a lot of criticism as well. I think that Carvajal, when he retires, he will be largely missed. And even for the Spanish national team, when I see Pedro Porro playing, I miss Carvajal a lot. Those are very difficult boots to fill, Carvajal's. Coming into this game, Real Madrid Leganés, clear favorite for me, Real Madrid. Real Madrid is in a good moment. They've got an easy schedule, and I'm going to back them with an Asian handicap -2. It pays 173. If they win by 3 goals, you will win your stake. If they win by 2 goals, you get your money back. Otherwise, I'm more than happy to do small ACCAs in this game. I encourage our listeners to consider Real Madrid to win the second half and Mbappé to score in the game, 2-11, or even more so, keep the Asian handicap -2 for Real Madrid that I suggested before, and add Mbappé to score to it. You add it to the mix and you get 264. Leganés is going through a tough one. Yes, they won 3 weeks ago, but at the same time, the run is pretty poor. Only 6 wins this season. They are scoring very few goals, and little by little they are dropping in the table. It looked at some point in December that Leganés was going to be one of these teams capable of staying in the league, maybe with a little bit of comfortability, but those signs are totally gone, and Real Madrid is playing very well. Sorry, I'm going to correct that. Real Madrid is getting the results with a certain comfortability.
Okay, well, these are the games on Saturday. Thanks for your analysis as well for Trent Alexander-Arnold.
What do you think, Edu? What do you think? As a Madridista?
Yeah, I think Real Madrid needed a right back. I am skeptical of having so many stars in the team, to be honest, and to add another one, I think is too many stars in one dressing room, and I hope the players like 𝐬𝐭𝐴, for instance, that we saw shining for Spain, being a Madridista, being a Spanish guy, can end up in Real Madrid. I think they need also some Spanish players also to fill the dressing room, and not that many stars again. But yeah, let's see. Well, Alvaro, let's go for the games we have on Sunday. We have Getafe. Villarreal is the first one, really interesting one and really difficult one for Villarreal. They are the favorites, but I'm not sure with these odds, 2.4 only to winning Getafe. They are dropping points, and Getafe, Alvaro, they are safe. And we are in the middle of, or at the end of March, and this is credit to 𝗲𝗏𝗏.
Oh, absolutely. By the way, this week I had the privilege of talking to Jorge Molina and 𝐿𝐵𝐻𝐿𝐴. Both played under 𝗲𝗏𝗏. Toquero for Alavés in the second division, Jorge Molina for Getafe and 𝐿𝐵, and they were talking wonders about 𝗲𝗏𝗏 and his methodology, and even how good he is from the human perspective, in the sense that he keeps you motivated. He's a funny guy. Well, I heard very good things about 𝗲𝗏𝗏, and maybe I am a little bit conducted by that to back Getafe this time. I think the odds are pretty good now. Jokes aside, I mean, Getafe doesn't lose many games at home, that's for sure. They lost 3 this season against Girona, against Mallorca, and against Betis. Strangely notable against the highest quality, but you just have to check their numbers. Getafe got 9 points out of the last 15. They beat Atlético in this period. The team is doing well, and they are rocky. They are difficult to beat. They've got a clear idea. They definitely have more rhythm than Villarreal. Villarreal is a little bit slow-paced sometimes, and Getafe has that high rhythm that can be tough to handle for the likes of Parejo, for example, who is already quite a veteran player. So keeping in mind that 𝗀𝗏𝗏, 𝗚𝗏𝗏 are players who have played in Africa and South America, they return late to Getafe's camp. I want to back Getafe for this game. I have the feeling that something can be achieved by Getafe here. A double chance for them will be 160. Let's don't forget again that Getafe beat Atlético de Madrid 2.5 weeks ago. Otherwise, Asian handicap plus 0.25 for Getafe, meaning that if they draw, you get half a win. If they win, you win, 187.
Next one, Barcelona or Catalunya derby. In this case, Barcelona-Girona. We already talked about Barcelona, and Girona are not in great place. 3 Draws in the last 3 games, Valencia, Espanyol and Celta, winless in 6 and 7 points. From relegation is a completely different team than the one that won last season, remember, shining and scoring 4, if I'm not mistaken, against Barcelona.
Yeah, in the game that show clearly the defensive frailties of 𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐲, for example, with 𝐜𝐭𝐚𝐲 just destroying him, especially positionally, more than in the one-to-one duels. But this Girona is a different story. 7 defeats away, by the way. After 28 games, that's a lot. Away, they collected pretty much nothing this season. And Barcelona, we have spoken about them before. Look, this game, it's a Barcelona for me. There is a bet that will be a small combination with a little bit of risk, of course. Barcelona to win and over 3.5 goals in the game, 2-10, yes. You can downgrade that to Barcelona to win and over 2.5 goals, which will be in the region of 170, more or less, something like that. And I also want to point out that Ferran Torres to score. Why do I say this? Because Ferran Torres has been a very good servant for Barcelona. Not that he is a top player, but coming from the bench, he has been important. 13 goals this season. And I can see Flick rotating a little bit in this game. I think that against Osasuna and against Girona, he will rotate. I don't know the degree of the rotations, how big are going to be, but Ferran is clearly one of those players who have a chance to start, because in the international week he didn't play a lot for Spain either, and because Atlético de Madrid is coming very soon, midweek, next week, and that game is crucial for Barcelona. So I think that against Girona, Barcelona will rotate a little bit in midfield if they can. Let's not forget that 𝐿𝐭𝐴 picked an injury, and definitely up front, maybe there is some rotation of if Barcelona wraps it up in the first half or by the 60th minute, Ferran Torres will come onto the pitch early. So Ferran Torres to score will be my bet for this game, but maybe you can wait, for the lineup to appear, or for Ferran Torres to come onto the pitch maybe on the second half, but I will back that. I have the feeling that Ferran can score, but otherwise Barcelona to win and over 3.5 goals in the game, 2-10.
Next game is Athletic Osasuna. Athletic had a great week before the international break, qualified for the Europa League quarterfinals. They are waiting Glasgow Rangers and beat Sevilla away with 𝗀𝗏𝗏 scoring the winner. So basically they secured the 4th spot. They are 8 points away from Villarreal. They are still favorites to win this game, of course, but the highlight of the season now is the Europa League, of course, Alvaro.
Yeah, and with Nico Williams just showing his level. He had a difficult start of the season. I think that he had never had so many expectations over him. And at the start of the season, his injuries, physical struggles, plus the expectations maybe were a little bit too much for him, but now he's good. He played very well for Spain. Against Roma, he was a beast, obviously taking into consideration that 𝗏𝗏𝗏 was sent off very quickly into the game, and that helped Athletic to play. The win against Sevilla was a blessing, because it's never easy to beat Sevilla at Sánchez Pizjuán for Athletic de Bilbao, but this game is a bit tricky. I really think that this game is a bit tricky, because Osasuna knocked out Athletic de Bilbao in the cup, and I think that the odds are slightly low for Athletic de Bilbao to win. I'm not a massive fan of 155 for them to win against Osasuna. This is a game that is not easy for Athletic normally. So this game could be a pass for me. Otherwise, yes, Athletic is the favorite, I think so. But naturally, I would back them in this game with an Asian handicap minus 0.25, something like this. But the revenue is just not enough. And I keep into account that Sancet is back. And he's a player that makes the difference for Athletic. But this game, from all the games we did in this show, this is the only one who is going to be a pass.
Let's move to the next game, Valencia, Mallorca. Very interesting one, because Valencia are finally outside the relegation spots after the draw against Girona and beating Valladolid. Only 1 point, though, above relegation. So this is a key game, and Mestalla has been a fortress lately, 4 wins in the last 5 games, also good for Spain, I must say. And Mallorca, Alvaro, still in European spots. They beat Espanyol, full of controversy, by the way. We didn't mention that because the penalty had to be retaken. In my opinion, Espanyol was stolen, we have to say. And there's no defeats in the last 6 with a lot of draws, but yeah, they should have not won, in my opinion, that game against Espanyol.
Yeah, that shouldn't have happened, but anyway, I'm going to stay with the numbers and the trajectory, the run. Mallorca is in a good moment, that's for sure. Mallorca hasn't lost a football game since the start of February. It's true that their calendar wasn't too difficult, but they got the points when they needed to get them. It's strange, Mallorca. They are 7th on the table, but their goal difference is -6. This happens a lot in La Liga, I have to say. There are many teams who don't score a lot of goals. I mean, Mallorca, Real Sociedad, Espanyol, Getafe, Sevilla, they don't score a lot, and therefore they have to suffer to get the 3 points after 90 minutes. But this game, I think that Valencia is gonna take it again as a big opportunity to put more distance with the relegation. Valencia with Corberán has been good. We spoke about that in the past. I mean, more or less Corberán has gotten half the points that were at stake for Valencia since Corberán's arrival. He's doing a good job, and there is a player who is standing out a little bit, apart from Umar Sadiq, Diego López. I think that he's been doing very well. He was the best under-23 player of La Liga in March, ahead of some other La Liga stars. And I think that Valencia is going to attack more than Mallorca, and I think that Valencia is going to create more than Mallorca. That's why, for this game, I'm going to go for the corners market. I think that there could be good money there. I'm a little bit against backing Valencia completely because Mallorca is in a great moment, but at the same time I know that Valencia is going to attack more because right now with Corberán at home they are, being offensive, being ambitious, and I like that. And I think that they can beat Mallorca in the corners department. So Asian handicap corners -1.5 for Valencia, 190.
And on Sunday, the evening game is El Gran Derby, the derby in Sevilla, beautiful city and great atmosphere always between these two teams. We have Betis as big favorites, 2.12. 5 consecutive wins in La Liga, now level on points with Villarreal in the 5th spot, and probably the 5th spot is going to give you access to the Champions League next season, also alive in the conference. So great season for the Verde Blancos. For Sevilla is the opposite, another disappointment in the defeat against Athletic. Still no back-to-back wins this season, and when you listen these stats, Alvaro, you might be tempted to go for Betis, but they are so poor in the head-to-head in this derby. Sevilla won the reverse fixture. No Betis wins in the last 6 derbies, was a Copa del Rey one. And in La Liga, we have to go back until 2018.
5-1? Was that one?
I think not, actually. I think it was 2-1 or something like this. Let me
Maybe check. That was in 2017, yeah. Anyway, I definitely take into consideration the fact that Betis lately has not been the best against Sevilla, but for the first time in a long time, I think that Betis is better than Sevilla right now. I mean, Betis had a very good March. I mean, to the point that Pellegrini was the manager of the month in March, and rightly so, because Betis got in total 5 straight wins. In the Conference League, they have gone through, even though that's not a very big achievement, considering that in the Conference League they had an easy opponent. But Betis is improving. They did a very good job in winter, just signing Anthony, bringing 𝐿𝐭𝐴∞, and the recovery of Isco has been crucial. There is the possibility that at some point Isco, Lo Celso and Anthony will play together, and Betis then will be a lot of fun to watch, that's for sure. Jesus Rodriguez has been another player who, has provided the speed that Betis needed in the flanks. and I think that Betis right now is better. Betis right now is a better footballer, better club, sorry. And I'm going to back them with an Asian handicap minus 0.25. It pays 172. Why do I say this as well? Because Sevilla this season has been poor against the top 7, and Betis is among the top 7 this season. Sevilla only got 1 win against the top 7 this season. So normally they tend to get the points against teams from the 8th downwards. And then in the big games, they crumble a little bit more. Of course, you have to think that players like 𝗀𝗵𝗏𝗀, for example, on a good day can destroy you. I mean, 𝗀𝗵𝗏𝗀 has scored, by the way, from the 11 goals he has netted this season, 8 have been away. And he's a footballer that when he takes you 1-to-1, he can destroy you because he's the one with he's the second footballer with most dribbles in La Liga after Lamine Yamal. But still, I don't forget Betis' moment. I think that they are in a very good one. Asian handicap minus 0.25 for Betis, 172. Otherwise, in this kind of derbies, I don't mind the both teams to score. I think that that's always nice, and that can happen because both teams play with a certain flair. So both teams to score 186 will be my other one, but I prefer to back Betis slightly with a minus 0.25 handicap.
Okay, the draw is 3.6, also very juicy in my opinion. So in 2018, actually Betis won twice, 1-0 at home, 2nd of September, and in January, 6th of January, 3-5. The game, I think,
3-5
in the Sánchez Pizjuán in the Reyes, as we call it, when we or Spanish people give the presents away in Christmas time. Well, Álvaro, and we have an extra match on Monday. We have Celta Vigo, Las Palmas. Celta now fighting for Europe. Great manager 𝗀𝗲𝗿𝗀𝗀𝗀 beat Valladolid, back-to-back wins, 4 wins and 2 draws in the last 6 games. And Las Palmas, if I'm not mistaken, they didn't fire Diego Martinez during the break, although there were rumors about it. Probably the draw against Alavés was enough, but no win since the 23rd of December.
Yeah, that's the thing. And Celta got 9 wins this season. Sorry, 11 wins this season. 9 of them were at home. Celta at home has been really good. It's fun to watch, scoring goals, a reliable side. They will be in European places if it was for the home games. And, I'm going to just follow that logic. Las Palmas is in a bad run. We can really see that. No wins in 2025, 6 wins in total in La Liga. The team is not responding, and Celta de Vigo at home is right the opposite. Celta de Vigo at home is almost a safe bet. So I'm going to go for Celta to win, 160. Otherwise, a bet that I really like normally, Asian handicap minus 1 for Celta. If they win by 1 goal, you get your money back, plain and simple. But if they win by 2, which is a possibility considering that Celta scores a lot of goals at home, 204. So Asian handicap minus 1 for Celta will be as far as I can go with this game, but still, I believe that there is a chance for that to happen.
All right, well, Álvaro, thank you. Of course, guys, remember that you can still post your tips in Oddspedia. We have a tips section where you can even win some cash prizes if you are successful. And also we have Rivals, a section where you can create your own tipster competitions. Álvaro, let's go with your safe bet.
My safe bet will be Asian handicap minus 1.5 for Real Madrid, 145.
And the ACCA?
Asian handicap minus 2 for Real Madrid, double chance for Getafe, and we have to wait until Monday to know whether this ACCA works or not. Celta to win. Altogether, 442.
Okay, Alvaro Romeo, thank you. Thanks, guys, for watching. See you very soon. Bye-bye.